And welcome back to another installment of Around the CHL. Joined now by Mike Miller, play-by-play man of the Windsor Spitfires. Mike, your team having a competitive year in the OHL. Any big stories around the OHL you could tell us about going on at the moment?
First of all, thanks for the invitation. Appreciate you giving us a call. Your timing's right. This is a Windsor club right now, playing very well, and it's led the West Division most of the year with the likes of a couple of guys that are in the top 20 for the projected draft, with defenseman Mikhail Sergachev and also Logan Brown and Logan Stanley. So those guys have been absolutely outstanding. A new coach, of course, in Rocky Thompson, longtime assistant of the Edmonton Oilers and Oklahoma City in the American Hockey League. So he's brought an up-tempo style to an organization, as you well know, Patrick, had tremendous success with a couple of Memorial Cups in 2009 and 2010, and kind of just fell off the map a little bit over the last couple of years. So it's great to see a great hockey town like Windsor and a great traditional organization that's been operating for decade after decade, having a great year. A real test for Windsor this weekend. Kitchener Rangers, as you well know, in the top 10 will be in Kitchener on Friday night. Then Saturday night, Ryan Ellis will have his jersey retired at the WFC Youth Center, his familiar number 6. And then, of course, on Sunday, the team that Windsor leads in that West Division, now by a season-high 9 points, basically will be in town for a matinee on Sunday. So a huge weekend for Windsor coming up.
Now, was it expected for there to be such a dominance in the Western Conference? Because that's what it appears where the strength is this year.
Good question. Been like that for a number of years, except for, of course, Oshawa last year, and our former assistant, DJ Smith, now an assistant with the Toronto Maple Leafs, marched into the Memorial Cup. But I would say over the last 6, 7, 8 years, Western Conference has really been the more dominant conference. I can't put my finger on it. I think maybe there's a little bit of a factor there from a geographical standpoint, Patrick, where teams like Windsor and Sarnia and, of course, Saginaw and now Flint seem to have a bit of an advantage here recruiting United States-born players, which, as you well know, has become a big part of the CHL. From a geographical standpoint, if these teams close to the U.S. border, you can pick up 2, 3, 4 U.S. kids, and they're able to play closer to home. I think that's been an advantage.
Taking a look at your club, number of NHL drafted players. It would take us forever to talk about all of them, but I see 2 drafted in the second round, Christian Fischer and Brendan Lemieux. What can you tell us about those guys?
They've been absolutely outstanding. They've been on the same line, of course, for 15 games now. Those guys have meshed. They have a center iceman, Logan Brown, that everybody knows. He's a projected top 10 or 15 in the draft, centering with Lemieux on one side and Fischer on the other side as well. They've been absolutely dominating at times, and they've carried this club. Power play's been outstanding since Brendan Lemieux got here. You know, if he was a right-handed shot, I'm not making this story about myself, but I was fortunate enough to do the Devils play-by-play in the NHL for 10 years. And if you look at Brendan Lemieux, plays a lot like his dad, Claude, except Claude was a right-handed shot and Brendan's a left. In fact, Claude was at our game the other night. We had him on the air talking about that. A lot of similarities. Plays the same type of feistiness and offensive threat. You know, maybe, and I'm going out on a little bit of a limb here, Patrick, but I think the best one-timer from the circle and the power play may be in the CHL. He's been great. That whole line's been great. And I mentioned Mikhail Sergachev, who's going to be an outstanding player back on the blue line. Most improved player in Windsor has been Logan Stanley, all 6'6" of him, big defenseman. The Spitfires are trending upward. Attendance has been good. It's been a very competitive year. But Windsor's starting to get a little daylight, in that West Division. Even though they played 3 fewer games, that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on.
Lastly, I want to ask, I know you mentioned you were in the NHL for a while. How long have you been in Windsor? Any big names in particular that have come through that have impressed you while you've been with the Spitfires?
Well, I have to tell you, Ryan Ellis is at the top of the list, and Taylor Hall, of course, another one of the backbones. Adam Henrique, of course, in New Jersey. Those 3 guys, Cam Fowler, another one in Anaheim, were the backbones of those Memorial Cup teams. Again, it's ironic and a good question, Patrick, that Ellis, I think, one of the better players that I've seen at this level. There was some question because of his size, whether that would equate to being a steady National Hockey League defenseman. But at the last box score, I went after the Nashville Predators. I got to tell you, he's playing about 17, 18, 20 minutes a night in Nashville. They have Shea Weber there, some other great defensemen in that organization. He's been outstanding. It'll be great to see Ryan on Sunday.
Well, we look forward to that for you. Best of luck the rest of the season. Thanks for doing this, Mike.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling, Patrick.
That's Mike Miller, play-by-play man of the Windsor Spitfires in the OHL. You're listening to Around the CHL, McDonald Auto Group Screaming Eagles Hockey, 1270 CJCB.